Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well. Wow, I have got a bonus upload that truly is full of terror. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you all know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please, leave a comment. Why? Well, because these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and yes, they really do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's bonus, shall we? Today's first encounter. So I've lived in Texas my entire life, the first 12 years of which were spent in Houston. We moved 400 miles or so away, still in Texas, in order to have horse property as we were tired of boarding. Moving forward, we moved to a 20-acre property already set up for horses. Now there are a few things I immediately noticed. More stars, a lot of loud coyotes. And we were on a hill overlooking the valley of trees lining the pastures. Now, it's not like there weren't any other plots. The two right beside us were vacant for some reason, but we weren't alone or anything. Now, the coyotes howled often, sometimes during the day. I only saw one once. That time in the evening, my brother and I rode our bikes down the gravel roads, and eventually went down some dirt roads. That was dirt, which was a little strange, since all of our roads are white gravel. We were on top of a hill by a cow pasture with some oil control valve, and a field of trees and dense shrubbery. Down at the base of the hill was the coyote, but it was strange. Now, I've never seen one before, but I thought it was a bit large, considering they're supposed to be as big as German Shepherds. This was probably twice as big. It stared at us. We were still and watched it. It was hunched over strangely. My brother said that we should leave, but I, being the older of us two, whispered we should stay still. I didn't want it to chase us. It eventually walked, or more like crawled, into the shrubs. We ended up going home. Another time, we were out of the back pasture gate and saw huge paw prints in the dry mud, aka dirt. These prints were strange, almost not coyote-like. My dad would talk about seeing really strange coyotes when he mowed the pasture in the evening, saying their eyes were almost red, not yellow, like animal eyes get in the dark. He would say that it ran away from him through our pond. Now, our pond is at max 5 feet deep. But my dad swears up and down that it ran through it. The area of Texas we live in, deer are never seen anywhere. But the other day in the field I was jogging by there was deer carcass all torn up. I'm not sure if some guy hit it with a truck and dumped it there, but I swear it wasn't there yesterday, and there's no way vultures could have done it in one day. Worst of all, coyotes have been caught and relocated earlier last year due to overpopulation and them attacking humans in nearby communities. At least, that's what my teacher told me. Literally kind of creeped out right now. Maybe the coyotes are breeding with dogs. Maybe it's something else. But I'm pretty sure coyotes don't get over 5 feet tall. Today's second encounter. I grew up near American Fork Canyon. My friends and I had heard stories of skinwalkers and ghosts and possibly other creatures up in that canyon. We would always go up there in the afternoon as my parents didn't let me out after dark. But after I turned 18 and moved out, we started going on night hikes. We'd usually go on hikes on or near the full moon because the moon was so bright, you really didn't need to bring a flashlight. We'd been doing these night hikes for a few months, but nothing weird had ever happened, not even a large animal sighting until this one particular night. There was one spot we would frequent. It was pretty flat, trees on all sides, but no overhead canopy, so the moon was the only light we needed. It also had a pretty cool spot with logs around a fire pit, pretty far up the trail. It always seemed out of place, but it was a great spot to stop and smoke and even start a fire. We were almost to the pit. My two guy friends were in front of when we heard this loud, blood-curdling scream. It sounded like elk, but it was so close to us. We had never seen an elk near this area before, let alone any signs of predator. We decided to keep going at least to our smoking spot when we all heard a twig snap right in front of us. My two friends both swear and start running in the opposite direction. Now, being shorter and in back, I didn't see what scared them. I thought maybe they were trying to prank me or something. I looked back at them for a second, then faced forward on the path. Right in front was a log for the smoking spot, but there in the moonlight I saw the shape of a large wolf with bright red eyes. I froze up until this wolf thing transformed into a large human, still with red eyes, and an animal hood on its back. I've never ran so hard in my life. My friends were already in the car, and as soon as I was in the car, we sped away. We never did any night hikes up in American Fork or Provo Canyon again. I told my friends what I saw, and they said they only saw the wolf. Wolves are not common in Utah, and to the best of my knowledge, there aren't any in the canyon. But I know it was a wolf, then a large man. Years later, I can still see that scene in my mind, like it happened yesterday. Today's third encounter is fascinating to me. I figured I'd just share it with you. Hello, I live in Northern California. I tend to drive at night for my job. I'm a delivery driver. I usually bring my boyfriend along for the sake of it, just to make both of us feel better. Last night he saw something neither of us can explain. I'm going to try to make this as detailed as possible. We were driving home around 11 p.m. The road was not super busy. We had to drive by this half-shithole rail yard to get home. There's lots of trash boxes. I had a terrible feeling of dread driving through there, like I just had to get the hell out of there. I cannot tell you why. I've grown up around creepy places my entire life. I used to live in the South, surrounded by nothing but fields and dirt roads, but last night I felt absolutely terrified. We were about halfway home when my boyfriend gasped and became speechless. When he was finally capable of speaking, he told me he saw something that's too hard to describe. It was on its hind legs, standing on a trashed-out boxcar. It had features like a cat or a rabbit. It was about waist high. It wasn't particularly tall. It had an extremely round face. It started running super fast on two legs when it saw us. It wasn't quite human, but wasn't quite animal either. It was bipedal. I looped back around after he had calmed down. We drove back and forth a couple of times, but both of us were terrified and wanted an explanation. Maybe it was the trick of the light. We couldn't find anything. I have no clue of what we saw. Today's fourth encounter. I've been trying for months to figure things out, and yet no matter how much I look, I cannot seem to get a lead as to what happened to my little brother. Let me explain. I live in rural Manitoba near a small town of Erickson, about an hour from Ananol, and have been with my family for about 3 years now, although before that I lived just outside of Toronto in the city of Burlington, Ontario, for what had been my whole life. When we first moved, it was supposed to make us happier and fix our problems that we had where we were. I loved the outdoors, so moving to a rural home on the lake was something I enjoyed. And my brother, who really never cared for it, so quickly came to love it, as well, with the two of us often going on the lam to fish and hike around. It's great here. The communities are all nice and helpful. Plus, I managed to make many new friends and find a relationship that I greatly lacked back in the greater Toronto area, which helped me get back on my feet and preparing to head off to university this September. My mother and stepfather, once on the brink of divorce, always fighting, found new love for each other. And my little brother, who's now 15, found his calling in the outdoor lifestyle that he never knew he loved. It's a great life for us up until about a year ago. There were no real problems to speak of, minus animals in our garden. About a year ago, my brother went on one of his night hikes that he often took. This usually involved him going on a walk through the trees for half an hour just around the house and coming back. My mother, being somewhat of a paranoid person, she told him to take a bag with some basic things such as his phone, compass, etc. with him, but being a teenager, he brushed her off and quietly left after we had declined the invitation to join him. And he left on his merry way, saying he would be back in about an hour when dinner was supposed to be cooked and ready to eat. I remember the moment when he walked out the door. It had been 2 hours, and I was prepared to go find him and tell him to get his ass back home, as by then my mother was getting very worried. The first thing I noticed was his eyes all red and full of tears, absolutely petrified and full of shock. The kid was shaking. And as soon as he entered the house, he fell on the couch in a panic until my mom rushed over to comfort him. After about an hour, he had calmed down, and we were ready to hear about what had happened. He said nothing. We tried to talk to him for an hour about it, and he would just say he could not talk about it, but he saw something deeper in the forest, and he would never go back outside. The next month was hard for us all, especially for him, as the happy, nice, and absolutely full of life brother I loved had shut himself in, refusing to go outside except when needed, and never into the woods, or even to fish with us like before. And it made me mad at the fact that I could do nothing about it. After a month, though, he began to open up, more slowly getting back to his routine, although he still refused to talk about it. But by then, I was just happy he was getting better. When summer came, things had gotten a lot better, and we were all back on track with our lives, although by then my brother had revised what had happened. He too is that he had gone deeper into the woods looking for a pond or something just because he could. It was deep in the woods and in the middle of nowhere, further than he had ever been before, but he felt adventurous, he said. While he was walking, he said he felt a freezing air of calmness around him, as if he was walking in the air or something like that, although he did emphasize how much colder it was the deeper he went into the forest, and how after a while he could hear almost like a whistle and the so-on of cracking leaves in the trees around him, although he ignored it as it was animals running around scared of his presence. When he finally found a small body of water, he said he was originally excited that he had found something new. Then he said it was at least 7 feet tall. He said all covered in what looked like dirt or like wrinkled brown skin. Its arms were long, almost down to knee level, and it stood directly across the lake on 2 jackal-like legs, just standing there. When he first said it, he was taken back, thinking it may have been a bear, and in what he said was an act of stupidity, flashed his flashlight at the thing, and nearly screw me in horror, but found that he was too petrified to scream. It had 2 small black eyes with what he described as 2 red cross-like pupils, with a mouth stretched near cheek to cheek, shining wolf-like teeth at him silently. As soon as he saw the thing, he said he bolted back, not caring what direction he was going, but sure the thing was following him, as he said that no matter how silent it tried to be, he could hear the whistling sound up until he reached the edge of the house, claiming that as he turns around he saw the creature take an almost cartoonish large step toward him. The whole time he ran, though, he claimed that he felt the same calm feeling the whole time he was running, almost questioning why he should run as he bolted to the house. We didn't want to believe him. My mother and father dismissed it as his imagination or some disfigured animal or something along those lines as he finished telling us his story. The next months would be spent with him fixated or almost obsessed with what had happened, with him dabbling in science and the occult, even going as far as to trying what he called pagan rituals, to do answers, sending hours telling us his idea in theory as to everything, although eventually he kept his info secret, only telling me from that point on that we had to be careful and to watch out for demons or Wendigo while trying to tell me as possible cult history and ritual he could try. Here's a kid who was always happy and full of life, and now he is letting it take over him and his life, and it makes me both worried about his health and mad that I can do nothing about it. The kid has always been connected to the paranormal, seeing ghosts and having past life experiences since he was around 2 and such. I don't know what to do anymore with trying to figure all this out and help him. I tried to research and I tried to go out and look into his tears and panic that I must not get involved or tempt him with my searches for it, but I don't know what else to do to help him, and I fear that every day I am losing him. My parents say it's a phase, and my girlfriend assumes it's teenage stuff, but he never has lied about things before, and I have no reason to doubt him. I've decided it was best to talk to my brother now before he went to bed. It's the weekend, so naturally he's still up, and about even so late, and I could not wait until morning. I went to his room and exchanged a hello with him. Before I cut to the chase, after taking a moment to breathe, I told my brother that I was worried about his health, and that it was best for him not to try anything in the occult, especially things he knew nothing about, while stressing that I do believe him and I am here for him, but looking for this thing is asking for something to happen. What I did do, though, was bring up the Skinwalker Dogman idea to him, which he said he already figured it out, but said the thing he saw did not have fur, or appear to have fur, and did not have a wolf or dog-like face, but instead more of a deformed humanoid, and so he wiped that idea off. He brushed me off after this. It was a simple okay, but I could tell from how he said it, and his eyes, that he did not care what I said, and he just immediately shunned me and went back to his laptop again, to which I decided to leave. I could tell he was upset at my demands to him, and upset by the fact that I was looking into this all for myself, and he is a person who almost never gets upset. So I also decided not to tell him of a group of investigators, mainly because I didn't know how he would react. It's best to leave him for now and just keep an eye on him. I will be doing some looking at the native lore stuff tomorrow, though maybe call around a few friends who may know. I asked around to a friend of mine who is Native American. He said he would look into it and ask some of his older family members and whatnot. He says that people know about stories of Wolfman and Hairless Bear and whatnot, but said that no one really believes such things, and as far as he knows, he's never heard anyone seeing something like it, with the accepted idea of it being a hairless or sick brown bear just being territorial and my brother seeing things. About him, he seems to have cut back on lighting the ground on fire, but still spends a lot of his time researching things and seems eager to go back out and look for the thing, believing that he has all the tools and knowledge to keep him safe, though he has yet to actually go out. Being a high school student, he is often busy with homework and stuff. Well, I wanted to share that story experience with you guys because there's so many faults or I don't know if I want to say faults. Yeah, I will. Made up experiences on native lore. People saying the skinwalker has a deer head and this and that and is 15 feet high. Or the Wendigo is the same way. But that is not the case. In the Akwesasne Reservation Museum, there is a picture of a skinwalker and an actual skinwalker story written by a famous Native American author about 100 years ago. And she wrote this story, and this person, I guess, painted this picture with her about what she had seen in the woods. And what he is describing is almost identical to the Wendigo in that picture on the reservation just up north where the majority of my family members live. This is absolutely crazy. I do feel for the kid who saw it. And like I've said a million times before, people either get caught up or get shut down. And when you get too caught up, bad things can happen. Playing with the occult is not something to do. That's only going to make matters worse. But I don't know. It's definitely crazy, crazy, crazy. So I've heard of two black sisters, I believe in Ohio somewhere. They went they went dogman hunting or ghost hunting or something paranormal. Excuse me. And they went into this abandoned house and they ran into a dogman. Now, one sister shuts down, the next sister is just full on bore into it, playing with the Ouija and doing other crazy things. It's sad how these creatures can ruin lives, perfectly healthy life, and they can either fuck it up mentally for the person or physically. I don't know. But anyway, moving on. So today's last part of the upload is after having the subscriber come on from PA, I kind of went down a rabbit hole and started checking out a lot of Pennsylvania cryptid lore. And I found this very interesting relation to Bigfoot, I guess. And it kind of just struck me funny as to, when you have a cryptid in your town or a story of a cryptid in your town, many times they turn it into a kind of celebration, like the Rougarou Fest down in Louisiana, or in my neck of the woods, we have Bigfoot Days in Fort Anne, New York. Well, in PA, they have something just as strange. What would you call a 4-foot-tall ape-like creature covered in reddish-brown hair that likes to steal and eat and throw apples? If you live in Columbia, Pennsylvania, you might call it a good reason to hold an Abatwitch festival celebrating a local mystery. Columbia is in Pennsylvania Amish country, but the legend of the Albatwitch may date back 500 years to the Susquehannock Indians who lived along the Susquehanna River and were known to draw ape-like creatures on their war shields. This area is home to the Chicky Rock, a popular picnic spot in the 1800s where the creature's name and reputation may have originated. According to Rick Fisher, curator of the National Museum of Mysteries and Research Center in Columbia, these creatures, the Albatwitch, would come out of the trees and steal apples from the people who were picnicking there. They would eat the apples and throw the cores back at the people. The name Albatwitch is believed to be a variation of apple snitch from its fruity behavior. Well, similar in the spelling, it has nothing to do with the Albatwitch, which is a different myth among the local German population having to do with a creature with goat horns, duck bill, rabbit ears, and squirrel tail who hunts, our popular April Fool prank. Sightings of the Albatwitch tapered off in the late 1800s, but picked up again starting in the 1950s with new reports of man-like creature in the Chicky Rock. One witness is Rick Fisher himself, who claims he saw the Albatwitch on Route 23 while driving toward Marietta, Pennsylvania. Another is Chris Vera, who says a boyhood friend was pinned to a tree by one. Vera is the president of Columbia Historic Preservation Society, and he and Fisher are the creators of the Albatwitch Festival, which is held on September 27th. Pennsylvania has a long history of Bigfoot sightings, so the Albatwitch could possibly be a similar species, a Sasquatch child, or a smaller relative, or just a myth. Whatever it is, it's a great reason to hold a festival. The legend of the Albatwitch. It was an ordinary day walking through the wooded hills along the west bank of the Susquehanna River in Columbia, PA. A bit to the north is the town of Marietta, while Columbia lies south. In the past, it has been written about a small park along the Susquehanna known as the Chickies Rock County Park, and the beautiful views one has of the mighty Susquehanna River from that location. It's a short drive from the main highway to the park, and the photographs you can take are remarkable. But there is a second parking lot along the main road which requires you to find your way through the dense woods to the top of the Chickies Rock. And that densely wooded area is said to be home of the dreaded Albatwitch. Now, I realize that the Albatwitch is just local legend, but if you find you must walk through the woods, he becomes more real with every step and noise you experience. The Albatwitch is allegedly to be small, about 4 feet, man-like creature, which supposedly lives in the wooded hills along the river. At one time, the Susquehannock Indian tribe roamed these hills and were said to have painted small ape-like monsters on their war shields. Their home allegedly was at the base of the Chickies Rock, where the ruin of a village and burial grounds were found at one time. Could the figure on their shields be the Albatwitch? But there have been other sightings of the Albatwitch all along the shores of the river in the area close to Columbia, PA. Now this creature is named for the habit it is said to possess, that of a being of an apple snitch. He or she is known to have stolen apples from picnickers, occasionally throwing them at startled people. The creature has been sighted sitting on treetops, coming down only to look for food, but the legend says that the Albatwitches either became extinct or were driven nearly into extinction in the later years of the 19th century. But in the 1950s to the 70s, a small man-like creature was once again sighted in the woods along the Susquehanna. Plus, the crack of the whip also accompanies the sightings. Could it be that the Alba Twitch has returned? A vague report concerning the sighting of a hairy humanoid came from Lancaster in 1973, with another report of a sighting in Annville, about 20 miles to the north, in that same year. Across the Susquehanna to the west is the town of Wrightsville, which is part of York County. They too have had sightings while looking across the river during times when the leaves were off the trees. It's also read that the Pennsylvania Dutch brought the legend with them when they settled to the area around the banks of the Susquehanna. The Alba Twitch may be nothing more than Germanic folklore. In the 21st century, the Alba Twitch has become a tourist draw to the area. Reports of a hairy creature still abound, but nothing like the Alba Twitch. So the group is now taking people on Ghosts of Columbia walking tours. That's after they offer them an apple fritter, apple dumpling, caramel apple, or apple pies. Sure hope they know what they are getting themselves into. Anyway, I find it really fascinating that these cryptids terrorize people, and yet we have festivals, but yet they don't exist. So we have festivals for creatures that don't exist. My favorite thing is people saying they don't believe, but then going to these festivals and having fun. And, you know, you go up to in Fort Anne, New York, when we have our Bigfoot days, and people will buy all of the merchandise and look the part, while being the skeptic at heart. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. The Rougarou Fest, the Alba Twitch Fest. There's an even scarier one in Detroit, which I may share with you in a couple days. Alright guys, I hope you all enjoyed this bonus upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. Your support is what makes this channel special and what continues to make it grow and go. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family, and friends. These creatures are real, they are out there, and they are dangerous. Share this information with the people you love and care about, and it may just help save your life someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.